Welcome to another episode of Drag Racing Basics, and today we're finally going to answer the question of what is a bracket race, as originally asked by Mike, and got this whole series rolling. So, a bracket race allows anybody to be able to race competitively and on a fair playing field. Any car can be a bracket car, and I'll do some other episodes describing and defining the basic three categories. So, when you go to watch a bracket race, and I think more people would go to bracket races from a spectator side if they understood exactly what was going on, because it is a little tough to watch. Because everybody's got this, and I shouldn't say everybody, it's just too inclusive, I should say most everybody, has the idea that a drag race is very simple, that two cars line up, and here's our little Hot Wheels cars again, and they both go down the track, and the car that gets to the other end first wins. Okay, in a heads-up drag race, that's exactly the case. But in a bracket race, it's a little different. So, have you ever been to the drag strip and you see one car take off and then all of a sudden the other car takes off and they end up at the other end of the track and the car that left second wins? Or you got a stock car and a hot rod or a full-on race car racing each other and the stock car wins. Okay, that typically happens in a bracket race. So, what is a bracket race? Think of a bracket race as scientific drag racing. You're not racing the guy in the other lane. He's not racing you, even though you're going down the track at the same time. You're racing the clock. You're saying that your combination, and he's saying that his combination, are going to run a certain amount of seconds down that track. And that comes from practice and repetitive running and being consistent. And it's all about consistency. So what it does is it lets anybody take any kind of car and race any other kind of car. The analogy I always like to use is you could take a Pinto and race it against a top fuel dragster, and a Pinto's got a good chance of winning. So what happens in a bracket race? Well, those numbers that you see up on the windows, that's a dial-in. And the person driving that car is saying that their car is going to cover the eighth mile or the quarter mile, whichever the case may be, in that many seconds. And then the guy in the other lane's got another dial in. This guy might dial a 9. This guy dials a 4.5 seconds. They pull up to the line, and this is where handicap racing, bracket racing, sportsman racing, whichever one you want to call it, comes down. And if you think back to the tree issue episode of Drag Racing Basics, the tree comes down one side in half-second intervals, tree comes down the other side in half-second intervals. Well, basically, this guy's saying that he's going to run closer to his number down the length of the track than this guy is. So they line up, they put their dial in on the windows, and you see the numbers come up at the end of the track on the scoreboards. And they take off. Now the 10-second car is going to take off first. So here he goes. Do. He's going down the track. And this is a 4-second car. 4.5-second car. So about 5.5 seconds out, this car is going to take off. Now he's got to run the first guy down. And as they're getting to the end of the track, and this is a very short track obviously, but as you get to the end of the track, they're going to become fairly even. And a few things can go on down here to fudge it one way or the other. But if all is perfect, they'll cross the line at exactly the same time. And this car will have ran 10 seconds, and this car will have ran 4.5 seconds. And sometimes that gap's even more exaggerated. You can have a 15-second car followed by a 5-second car, 10 seconds apart. It happens in the street classes all the time. It happens a little bit in your modified or hot rod classes a little bit. And in your top sportsman, top eliminator, pro, those classes, they're even more even. And they all pretty much, the cars get closer together in time as you go up through the levels of the classes. But there's still some widespread differences in there. But effectively, that's all a bracket race is. It's a scientific way for two cars that are absolutely unequal, no parity between them at all, to go out and fairly race each other on a point series or usable, classable form of racing. And it lets anybody race, because any car can be a bracket car. truck style 10. That's on the board, it's down Okay, Mustang styled on 921, Thunderbird styled 1002. So the Thunderbird's going to launch first in the left lane. Pre-staged. Now, notice on the Thunderbird side, you'll see the tree come down first, and then the Mustang's tree take off. That is a sportsman tree in action.